Us military dudes, we are absolutely horrible. I can't answer your question either because it's going to be different for you because team, I'm not sure if there is anybody worse at taking something and trying to sound high speed and low drag and actually making nothing, quite frankly, bullshit excuses to not explain something, right? Us military dudes, we are absolutely horrible at this. Case in point, we like to say that everything is Met TC. I can't answer your question about your area for this specific question because it's Met TC, man. I can't answer your question either because it's going to be different for you because Met TC. Problem, of course, is that there are principles that apply regardless of the situation, right? And if we don't have these principles down pat, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, and we're deceiving ourselves if we're quite honest with each other. Even METCC is one of these things. Like if we really know it, then we can begin to apply it regardless of what's happening. But the interesting thing is, and this is something else that the military is horrible about, we use acronyms in and within acronyms. Like for one of the tangos in METCC with terrain, we use ACOCA. And the problem is we don't, just like with METCC, when it comes to these variables, we don't really think about them except when maybe planning a defense and setting up sector sketches. But there's so much more of an application, I believe, and it's worth a conversation about. The first variable that we need to think about when it comes to terrain is what is out there that stands in the way of myself or somebody else. It's an obstacle. It could be man-made, right? It could be a road. It can be an obstacle, especially maybe if you're conducting a patrol. It's something that you have to move across. It's a linear danger area, if you will. It could be natural. It could be a stream. It could be a cliff, right? It could be a major hill, valley, a saddle, a ridge, depression. It could be the types of vegetation or the type of soil that we're having to traverse. Maybe it's a swamp, right? Maybe it's very loose sand, right? And no matter what you do, you can't get around it, and that poses its own obstacle. We need to think about these things and how we can use these obstacles in our favor, as well as how others may use these obstacles against us. Right? It goes both ways here, if you will. Next variable that we need to truly think about and work through all of the second, third order effects is the types of cover and concealment that is offered as we're moving through. Do I have any micro or macro terrain features that I can keep between myself and another interested party that may want to have something to do with me? Can I just use distance if I don't have a terrain feature? Terrain feature obviously provides significant cover, right? That earth can protect you. But it also disables the effectiveness of sound to get from one place to another. Distance can offer us the same thing. In fact, I've done tests in a wooded environment that would tell you that a whistle, for example, is completely ineffective beyond 500 meters. Something to think about. Does the vegetation provide anything? And do I need to do anything with my own uniform, my own kit, in order to help mimic the terrain that I'm moving through? Another variable that we need to know, and by the way, the SHTF field manual puts all of this into perspective as it relates to an actual event. Like, how do we take these principles and apply them to a plan, right? So I need to think about observation in fields of fire. Like, how far can I actually see? What types of contact can I expect from an adversarial party? Do they have the ability to use things that fly through the air? Is everything direct line of sight? Done a lot of studies here, as it relates to shoulder-fired weapons, about the effectiveness based off of the vegetation that we have. Like, how far can you actually see? Like, it's awesome to have a firearm that can reach out and touch something at 1,000 or 1,500 yards, but here where I'm at, it's completely ineffective. Just like out in the plains, if you are the bad guy, right, then it can be effective. But if you're the good guy, and I hope that you are, nobody fights in the prone or standing up. We get into a prone position. When you get in a prone position, you can't see very far. It's kind of, I'm no meteorologist, but it's kind of physics, right? But how far can you see? Maybe some of that is based off of the terrain features that you're finding yourself on. Again, natural or man-made. Could be some buildings, right? Maybe it is an urban environment. There could be some buildings that offers some outstanding observation. I need to be keenly aware of these as I'm planning a route, so that I can ensure that I maximize my own cover and concealment. Right? Does that make sense? And last but not least is our avenues of approach. So we think, again, two ways to think about all of these variables, right? How can I utilize an avenue of approach based off of the cover and the concealment, the obstacles, the observation in fields of fire? How can I direct a path to negotiate all of these things in order to minimize risk to myself and to my teammates? Conversely, how does the past examples of enemy traffic tell me what they may be most likely to do? What do they know about me and what I may be up to? Because now we get in all kinds of head games here, right? Like, if they know me and they know how, what training that I have and what my experiences are, they can begin to anticipate what I may choose to do if they believe that I'm moving through a particular area. So now you can begin to let it mess up your psyche, because you may not apply specific patrolling fundamentals, if you will. Because, well, they're going to expect me to slip the stream, if you will. So I can't slip the stream. Well, maybe you were wrong in your estimation about what they knew about you. Lots of things to consider. And again, that's why we just can't say that it's all MET-TC or that it's all situation dependent. Like that. These are not untrue statements. But we need to first know the fundamentals and how they apply, regardless of the situation that we are finding ourselves in. There's another acronym as it relates to terrain that a lot of folks don't even know, and it's SOEs, right? So we have a size, orientation, elevation, and the slope that we're dealing with. So how large are these terrain features that you have? What is the general orientation? Do they generally flow east and west? Is it north and south in conjunction with other major terrain features that are around you? What's the shape? How can I think about the shape that these terrain features are at, and how can I plot a route in order to decrease the physical effort that it will take to move through a particular area? How does that slope impact you? Your speed, right? Because there's security in speed. And we like to get out and think that, well, man, I can PT and I can ruck all day long. Well, that may be true down on the track, on the flat grounds. But you start moving up and down some hills and you're going to find a hard reality that you may not be prepared for. So you got to get out there and you got to exercise in the actual terrain for where you're at. And that's one of the reasons why I take Hondo up into the woods here. I want him to know these woods as well as I do. I need him to be able to work his way back, to recognize each draw, to recognize the paths that he has already been on. And he'll get there. It's just a matter of time and effort of us getting out there and doing it over and over and over again. By the way, while we're doing that, I am exercising myself as well and my mind as well. Learning and thinking about all of these variables and how they can come into play and how I can use them to my advantage should the situation dictate. Team, I appreciate you guys. Let me know what your thoughts and comments are down below about terrain and how do you think about terrain? Are there other major fundamental things that you apply as you are planning routes? Looking forward to hearing it. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked. Team, if you want to master your craft and develop your tactical virtue, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date with future content. Consider becoming a channel member. It's going to give you exclusive access to content not available to anybody else. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.
I know you're out there! Come to my voice!